Okay, then let's begin. So, hello friends, I am Ashmita Reddy, medical student from FM Medical College and Hospital, Odisha. So, I'll be your moderator for today's session, Innovation in Medicine, which is hosted by World Youth Heart Federation in association with Mice Labs. So, before starting on with innovation, let us just first get to know why do we have to learn about innovation. So I'll just say one sentence that any positive improvement or change which happens in the industry of medicine is because someone thought of solving a problem in an innovative way, that is through innovation. So these small changes bring a huge impact and positive change in patients and the medical fraternity. So I guess all of us are equally excited and like enthusiastic to learn about this tool, which empowers us to bring huge change in the medical field. So without wasting much time, let me introduce our speaker, Mr. Krishna Chaitanya, lead mentor of Mice Labs at JJ Hospitals. He is a prolific innovator, speaker, mentor who has trained and guided over 600 students in innovating projects. And throughout this session, the participants are encouraged to put up their questions, any queries they have regarding innovation and the session in the chat box. And I'll be sharing relevant LinkedIn of the Federation of Mice Labs of the speaker in the chat box, and you guys can follow and check out their accounts. So I guess without further ado, we can begin the session. So Krishna Chaitanya sir, welcome to today's session, and I request you to take over from here.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ashmita. Thank you so much, World Youth Heart Federation, for inviting me on this wonderful occasion to interact with young and enthusiastic students over here who want to see some changes happening in the world and who want to be active participants and stakeholders in the part of change. So, without further delay, we'll start on with our session today. The topic as it states is innovation in medicine. But I would say, innovation towards or orientation towards medical innovations. So I hope you guys can see my screen. Yeah, just let me know whenever you're not able to see the screen. And sure, so if you're not able to hear or anything, I hope that's all clear. Okay, so
Yes.
good evening to all of you. Welcome to this journey. You're beginning a new journey about medical innovations, and we're happy to have all of you on board on behalf of Mice Labs. You're beginning this journey with Mice Labs. So before entering the topic, let me just clarify. Mice Labs is not where we test rats. Mice Labs is a place where we encourage innovations and teach students on how to tinker. So the full form is Medical Innovation, Creativity and Entrepreneurship Lab. We are based in JJ Hospital, as Ashmita had introduced. We're based in JJ Hospital with a small area of 1,000 square feet where we conduct classes, we conduct workshops, we conduct events, seminars, we conduct sessions and places, innovation-based sessions where people come and do a lot of interaction and testing, tinkering, and trials with a lot of ideas which they have to develop something. And that's all how people take very much active participation, encouraging medical students to do more and more innovations. And being medical students, they can also think out of the box because medical students are also tech savvy. What exactly is medical innovations? The main concern that comes is medical colleges needs to reinvent themselves. Probably the reason is because we've all been under the same situation. We all standardly see these things in our postings, in our hospital setup. A lot of tension around the whole atmosphere. Doctors, medical representatives, junior doctors, senior doctors, and The most important thing is so many kinds of frustrated patients, relatives of these patients coming in for checkups, for routine checkups, for medicals, for getting medicines, and there's a huge lot of chaos. So absolutely, this is how our healthcare system right now is, and the best way to possibly fix this is by reinventing ourselves, reinventing the entire system, reinventing our mindsets, and also thinking in towards using technology, because we all are benefits of technology. We use a lot of these things, not like the previous generations where they weren't so tech savvy. They always went with the conventional methods, but here we always have alternatives to use technology for solving problems. Very simple example: whenever we ask patients, or whenever we ask any kind of a question, the first and foremost thing is we go onto our mobile phone to Google it and understand it more better. So we always have that habit of reading and researching about objects, researching about facts and technologies, right? Same thing, we are trying to implement that in the medical innovation system, and that is how we can encourage more and more innovations to come. And how can that come? When the senior doctors who have already been experienced through a lot of theory and a lot of knowledge, and through their practice, we get to learn from their mistakes, and then we understand a lot of such innovations that we can do, a lot of opportunity that we can gain out of learning it from them. So talking about medical technologies, there is a lot of scope in medtech advancements. We see all the medical records have now started going electronic based medical records. We can also see a lot of apps and chatbots coming. We see telemedicine and health, M-Health playing a major role in towards medical innovations and medical technology, while connecting doctors and patients even from distant. And we are also able to see how 3D imaging is also improving in terms of MRI, CT. It's improving its quality, and we're able to see much better and clearer and distinct reports and scans of our patients. We're also able to see things like virtual reality and augmented reality taking active role for education, for treatment, for surgery. Many places we are able to see where these kind of simulations give a lot of scope. We are also seeing a lot of robotic surgeries happening, starting with India also. They have started in India in a small scale. Now many hospitals have started to adopt these practices of robotic surgeries. There have been robotic fellowship programs also, which is being offered for doctors as a specialization program, and that is also coming as a huge vast scope. We have all the information and the patient database and the things which have been storaged over all these storage systems are getting into cloud-based storage systems, and all the patient data is being used for better and better manipulation in terms of managing the healthcare system better. We are also getting a lot of all the entire thing is getting into cloud, and a lot of database related things. Right now also, when we talk about the situation that is happening during this pandemic, the COVID-19, we are able to evaluate so many so much amount of data that is coming in, to maintain the counts of how many cases are active, how many cases have been treated, how many deaths are happening because of the COVID-19. So we are able to manage so many kinds of things using cloud computing and big data. There are also 3D printing and bioprinting is taking a very active role. Bioprinting especially comes into printing live organs, right? It is definitely well under research and scrutiny, and we are able to do a lot of things. We are also seeing a lot of sensors, electronic sensors, which are giving us vital parameters and vital readings. The most famous example, or the most famous thing, is the most commonly used Fitbits. Fitbit is nothing but a sensor which is giving you a heartbeat reading, heartbeat reading, and based upon that, it is evaluating so many kinds of parameters. So sensors are coming, implants are coming. Implants have the material behind implants have been changing. So many things happening inside the medical world, when doctors are continuously using these kind of technology to begin innovations with. as I said, even robotics is taking to a very high level of surgical precision to even cut through the wounds or even cut through those areas which maybe probably a doctor wouldn't have able to reach physically without any instrument. And that is something which a robot is able to achieve with accurate precision. And as I told you, we are able to, doctors are able to manage big loads of data that is coming through a lot of sources and even through a geographical constraint, and on a database upon to say which area is most affected with a certain kind of a disease or an epidemic or a pandemic. Based upon all these database management, we're able to see these things. But the question comes is, are our students, medical students, ready to face these kind of changes that is happening in the industry? The answer is probably no. Why it is? Because I think we are all stuck with the same set of things because of inside the books, and we are all into the old rote learning process where we just have to cram up the books and write that in the exams, and no much practical application, just theoretical lectures and the same lecture halls, the boring lectures. I think the early morning lectures, how many of you all remember those lectures which you used to attend before the pandemic? Of course, the 8 o'clock lectures, you have to sit in your professor's classroom, and probably only the front benchers would, a few of them would understand few things, and other things, rest of them goes above your head, right? But to say that the technology is changing and it is disrupting everything, and the reason why we have to start changing is because otherwise we as doctors would start getting extinct over a period of time. And this is what I would call that digital disruption, because all the old stuff, that all the conventional ways of treating patients and different parameters around in and around healthcare system is changing because of the digital technology. Now, thanks to digital technology, I am sitting in Mumbai and I'm able to connect with all of you all over different parts of the country or parts of the world. Everybody's sitting in different places, but I'm sitting in Mumbai and able to connect to so many of you and sharing my thoughts and views about innovation. So thanks to digital technology. But how can this digital technology come when we are still stuck with the old ways and methods of treating and sitting with the old stuff? And that's how we are going to get digitally extinct. And that is what we don't want to do. We don't want doctors to be digitally extinct. We want doctors to also be apt and at par with the skill sets of the modern generation doctors, the new generation doctors, right? Therefore, we also want to reinvent ourselves by reinventing medical education systems. And how does that happen? We bring in a lot of collaboration between medicine and technology. When medical students are able to adapt themselves to these kind of changes that is coming, they can probably withstand those things. And that's how we start with reinventing ourselves, joining hands with technology, right? Now, this is a very interesting video I would like to show. Everybody has heard the story. We have grown up hearing this story about the race of the rabbit and the turtle, right? So we all know that the rabbit, because it was lazy, it fell asleep, and because it was overconfident about its talent, it fell asleep. And then the tortoise went ahead and won the race. But these are the versions that we have listened or heard from our childhood. But I would say that there is something more to add beyond it. And I am talking more specifically about how teamwork is going to help us. Okay, so just watch this video.
Once upon a time, a turtle and a rabbit had an argument about who was faster. They decided to settle the argument with a race. The turtle and the rabbit both agreed on a route and started off the race. The rabbit shot ahead and ran briskly for some time. Then, seeing he was far ahead of the turtle, he thought he'd sit under a tree for some time and relax before continuing the race. He sat under the tree and soon fell asleep. The turtle, plodding on, overtook him and soon finished the race. Emerging as the undisputed champ, the rabbit woke up and realized that he'd lost the race. The moral of the story is that slow and steady wins the race. This is the version of the story that we've all grown up with. But our version of the story continues. The rabbit was disappointed at losing the race, and he did some thinking. He realized that he'd lost the race only because he had been overconfident, careless, and lax. If he had not taken things for granted, there's no way the turtle could have beaten him. So, he challenged the turtle to another race. The turtle agreed. This time, the rabbit went all out and ran without stopping from start to finish. He won by several miles. The moral of the story? Fast and consistent will always beat the slow and steady. It's good to be slow and steady, but it's better to be fast and reliable. But the story doesn't end here. The turtle did some thinking this time and realized that there's no way he can beat the rabbit in a race the way it was currently formatted. He thought for a while and then challenged the rabbit to another race, but on a slightly different route. The rabbit agreed. The turtle and rabbit started off. In keeping with his self-made commitment to be consistently fast, the rabbit took off and ran at top speed until he came to a broad river. The finishing line was a couple of kilometers on the other side of the river. The rabbit sat there, wondering what to do. In the meantime, the turtle trundled along, got into the river, swam to the opposite bank, continued walking, and finished the race. The moral of the story? First, identify your core competency, and then change the playing field to suit your core competency. The story still hasn't ended. The turtle and rabbit by this time had become pretty good friends, and they did some thinking together. Both realized that the last race could have been run much better. So, the turtle and rabbit decided to do the last race again, but to run as a team this time. They started off, and this time the rabbit carried the turtle till the riverbank. There, the turtle took over and swam across with the rabbit on his back. On the opposite bank, the rabbit again carried the turtle, and they reached the finishing line together. Both the turtle and rabbit felt a greater sense of satisfaction than they'd felt earlier. The moral of the story? It's good to be individually brilliant and to have strong core competencies. But unless you're able to work in a team and harness each other's core competencies, you'll always perform below par, because there will always be situations at which you'll do poorly and someone else does well. Teamwork is mainly about situational leadership, letting the person with the relevant core competency for a situation take leadership. And that is the end of the story.
So I think the moral of the story says that how we can take situational leadership. So that's a leadership principle but that definitely applies towards innovation as well. Multiple phases of the industry in terms of medical innovation, how collaboration becomes a very much important matter, because everybody's strong with their own different core competencies, but collaborating together and coming together to solve one unique problem, or coming together to solve that particular problem, that gives it more strength and more sense of satisfaction. Not just satisfaction to the heart, but also satisfaction in terms of creating a better, much better impact than what it would have been just on a single level, right? So that is why we need to do active collaborations in terms of medical innovations. Okay. Yeah. So now the question comes is, okay, I'm convinced that there is a need of innovation, there is a need of change, but how do we start innovating? Where do we start? What are the steps, right? The question always arises, and therefore we have standard technologies and standard protocols for us to follow, which have been developed by the big elephants in the innovation industry, things as big as the Stanford Biodesign. So Stanford Biodesign has its standard set process, which it has been doing since so many years, right? So they follow this 3I parameters, the 3I step. They call it identify, invent, and implement. And under identify, they do a research behind what exactly goes behind your problem statement, what exactly is a need to do an innovation behind a certain problem, and whether these needs really make sense. So that you might find 100 of needs, but how does it really make sense is when you actually screen your needs. So that's the second step, need screening. The third thing is developing your concepts. You generate a lot of more concepts, right? Because one problem will have thousands of solutions, but which solution is more apt is your concept screening. Concept generation, you develop a lot of solutions. Concept screening is you screen out the all unwanted things and you pick up the most efficient and the most beneficial screening process for your innovation. And post that, now innovation, basically what happens is you develop something, but how is it going to reach to the customer, or how is it even going to reach for the person for the very problem you have brought it, right? So if I'm able to innovate on a device, how is it going to reach to the customer? How is it the end customer, in cases patients, doctors, nurses, anybody related to our healthcare ecosystem? So then plays a role about entrepreneurship, device commercialization, when you develop strategies on how this particular the innovation reaches towards those people, your stakeholders. And even in India, we follow these particular the 4Ds, which goes to the medical innovation industry, right? So the principle of Stanford Biodesign, and this remains the same. Just the structure changes with different steps, right? So different steps keep adding in. Over here, the 4Ds is, the first D goes for define your unmet clinical needs. The second goes for designing prototypes. The third thing goes for delivering it to the bedside. The fourth one goes to deploying it into the market. So all these different parameters are available. The principle remains the same in all of them. And here we at Mice Labs also keep a lot of these steps in mind, and we encourage our students to do a lot of brainstorming sessions. Based upon those sessions, we ask them to ideate and conceptualize solutions for it. Then based upon that, we help them to develop prototypes and do testings, because since we have easy access to the hospital, being set up in a hospital, we start moving out and we start doing testing. We take patient feedback, we take doctors feedback, and then we actually get it to the deployment stage when we actually start developing it as a product into a commercial market. And that's how we facilitate. And yes, hospitals are the place where patients are. Many times we were thinking that, probably like innovation just is with doctors and medical students and people related to the the ecosystem. But many times even patients can be good innovators, because patients themselves have been experiencing that particular thing, that particular issue, the problem or the disease they face. And patients also have a lot of very good inputs. Patients, caregivers, anybody has these very good inputs for innovation, and that actually helps us with a different perspective to do. And doctors understand much better pain points, because they would be available to tell what exactly is feasible, what is practical. Because being an engineer or being a designer, it is not just the duty to just solve a problem without any stakeholders in concern. They need to have these stakeholders who are the contributors towards innovation, and the doctor being the primary most one, because ultimately the end user is a doctor, right? Whatever bigger technologies the designer or the engineering committee does, ultimately the doctor is supposed to use it, and they understand the patients much better than what the engineering team understands. So that's how collaboration together, when medical students can talk to these engineering students, and both of them together come with different perspectives, both of them that can bring very good innovations, which is very favorable and suitable for the Indian ecosystem as well, right? Because Indian ecosystem believes in frugality, right? Frugality is what that is driving innovation, right? So here I would like to take a pause, and I would like each one of you, I would request each one of you to give a good caption to this particular image. You can write it down probably in the chat box, or you can yeah. So so just what do you think just after looking at the image? Okay, so Amanpreet is saying the life-saving mechanics. Okay, nice. Janabi Bora is saying mechanics of the human body. Okay. Medical technology, that's a nice one. What else? What else? Put your thoughts. There's nothing right and wrong to this. It's just your thoughts. What do you feel after seeing this image, and what do you think you can actually give a caption to this? Intersectoral collaboration. Okay, that's nice. Medical innovation. Okay, as simple as that. Nice one, Aman Mishra. Let's do the engine surgery. Okay, that's a nice one. Engine operation. Okay. Yeah, but doctors don't actually open up the car's engine. That's something that's a job of a mechanic. Engine operation. Okay. Real-time innovation. Nice, nice. Collaborating the technologies. Okay. Okay, so we'll just move on further. And I think, thank you all for these wonderful answers. So yeah, so there's no right and wrong answer for this, but amazing thoughts by you guys that how collaboration becomes a very key role for innovation, right? Yeah. So when I was talking about collaboration, when it becomes a key, many times we say that how can two different people with two different mindsets come together and think, right? That's the most and major challenge that's going to come, because a doctor is a person who always looks behind. He takes the approach to any kind of a problem is always towards a different phase. Nothing against or wrong against the doctors, and nothing nothing to say that doctor is less or engineer is more, or engineer is less or doctor is more. But the saying is that approaches, both of them have different mindsets, right? So that is how innovation is something that can bring different mindsets together who think in a different approach. And so when we're talking about a lot of medical innovations as that aspect, it is not necessary that when we're talking about innovations, we might start talking, okay, let's build a huge MRI machine right today. No, maybe we can start with thinking very, very simple aspects, right? So now again, there's one more activity. I would like to take a pause. And what's this instrument over here? The most commonly used instrument amongst all of us, the doctors, a stethoscope. Okay, so I will now stop sharing the screen, and I would ask each one of you to share your inputs about certain problems that are associated with the stethoscope. So I think everybody over here, sitting over here, have used the stethoscope, right? So I want you to now start opening up to say and interact. If you can unmute yourself, that would be best. If you don't want to, you can write it down in the chat box. What is the problem associated with the stethoscope, the current stethoscope which we are using? Yes, I need to hear from all of you. Anybody would like to unmute themselves? They can unmute and probably speak up. It requires us to be close to the patients, which isn't the best during this pandemic. Wonderful suggestion, wonderful thing to understand, Diksha. Yeah, anybody would like to unmute themselves and speak?
Different doctors might have different interpretations for the same condition.
Okay, so there is nothing as a standard, uh, you know, there's nothing standardized way to understand it. Okay. What else? Come on, guys. I'm not talking to screens. I'm talking to people. So open up, open up. I don't think so. The stethoscope, which we use, all of you guys have been using. I don't think so. I don't think so. That's the most perfect one. There's always some kind of a scope for improvement. What are those scopes for improvements?
So I would like to add one. So the
Yeah.
data is not stored. It's just the one time the doctor listens and the data isn't recorded.
Yes, yes, absolutely. So it just, because a stethoscope is nothing but a mechanical device that just converts your sound, a mechanical sound which you can hear. That's it. You can't record anything and store anything. Do you all agree with this? Come on, guys, nobody's speaking up. Okay, Aman gives a thumbs up. Okay. Have you guys understood the question? What can be improved in a stethoscope? Okay, Siddhi is saying chance of error is more. Agreed with you, Siddhi. Yeah, so everybody's agreeing with you, Ashmita, the point you said. Very valid point. Come on. Okay. Okay, nobody else is saying anything. Okay, maybe then let me also list it down. One thing which he said is we are not able to record sounds. Do you guys ever feel that the sound that you hear from the stethoscope is not very clear and distinct, which you can understand the irregularity and understand the abnormality of the heartbeat sounds? So I think, yes, Balkrishna has brought it out. Sound cannot be amplified. So the sounds are very faintly heard, right? You need to be at most of your concentration to hear the heartbeat sounds, the cardiac sounds, right? And even when it goes to lung sounds, you use not the diaphragm, then you use the bell. Then also it's with the same thing. You need to have the patient breathing, and you need to be in a quiet room to hear it very accurately, right?
Hi there.
Yes.
I wanted to add a thing, that the thing that you are discussing right now, I think that's right, because the precision of differentiating between different problems, like whether it's a cardiac tamponade or a pleural effusion, whether there's
Exactly.
liquid or something, we should need more clarity as to the precision should be more.
Yeah, exactly. And has any time you guys have heard a certain sound of the heartbeat and you had a doubt, but you didn't have any way to find it out, and you didn't have any way that you make your senior doctor or your senior student or your professor to hear the same sound which you're able to hear, right? When I am auscultating, like one person is auscultating on a patient, can 10 other people hear the same sound which you're able to hear simultaneously? Right? That is also one of the points, right? What else can be thought as that is something this is lacking in a stethoscope? Okay, Amanpreet is saying not possible for the investigations required. Okay, So those further investigations taken a lot of time, definitely, Amanpreet, right? That will take a lot of time. Yeah, some auscultations are especially challenging because of multiple abnormal sounds and murmurs. Exactly. That is also a very valid point. So now I think we have sufficiently given a lot of problems and a lot of ways that we need to start changing our approach towards the stethoscopes, right? Okay, I'm going to share back to the screen. Diksha is saying, and we cannot always hear the murmur. Exactly. That is what comes into the point then, that you can't record those sounds. Yes. So, so this particular problem now has been looked out. See, now all of you have given a lot of very inputs that how this particular stethoscopes has a lot of limitations and shortcomings. Therefore, this particular stethoscope had changed its design, and this particular design has been come from thanks to IO Devices. It's a innovative startup from IIT Bombay, which has found out that there is this particular problem. And in one of the hackathons many years ago, these people actually thought, why don't we start looking into developing something which is an amplification device that could amplify the sounds of the heartbeat. It could also give you clear crystal clarity to for you to listen to these sounds. That is one thing. Secondly, you can have it in such a way that you can convert these sounds to an electronic signal without changing the waveforms and without disturbing any of that, without any noise, and clearing that to giving you much more clarity of sounds with a device, right? And now when we talk about integrating electronics into these things, the first and foremost thing is, oh, probably this will get costly, right? And yes, there are many electronic stethoscopes that exist in the market, but has anybody done their research about how much does an electronic stethoscope cost? For the very much example, the most commonly used stethoscope, or the most clearly used stethoscope by all doctors, is the Littmann stethoscope, right? If you go to Google and just find out an electronic Littmann stethoscope, it will cost you no less than 50,000 rupees, right? And that is something which is not affordable for the Indian market. Definitely not. Nobody would spend 50,000 rupees for buying a stethoscope that's an electronic stethoscope for doing that. Therefore, innovation plays an active role in actually bringing down these costs, right? So this particular company that is known, the startup, which has been teamed by engineering and medical professionals coming together to ideate and find upon this device, they've actually brought down that cost to 10,000 rupees, right? This device is now available in market. It has been developed and clinically tested, and a lot of doctors have trusted this particular thing for its efficiency and for its clarity it is giving, right? And this particular device also gives a mobile phone application through Bluetooth. It connects to a mobile phone applications. It gives you a facility to record these sounds, to share these sounds with anybody. So rural doctor, a doctor sitting in a rural area, he's coming across some abnormal heartbeat sounds, wants to take some guidance, can record that heartbeat and share it with his senior doctor somewhere in the city, and get valuable feedback and data from data-based approval and clarity. From that, he can record the waveforms which is required. ECG is the electrocardiogram, but this is a PCG, a phonocardiogram, when he can actually record these things, and not just record, but also available in different languages. Coming to the Indian ecosystem, different languages people understand. So so this is, if you see now, this entire story that has come through from that problem to developing a solution and giving an application where people can actually communicate with each other. And it is covering not just one solution, it is covering so many problems associated this one solution, right? Okay, I hope this is clear. And if you want to know further about this particular device, you can go to the link down, www.iudevices.com. Somebody said in the chat that this particular device, the stethoscope, we have to go very close contact with the patient. And that is not very good during this pandemic. They have actually started working upon how can we change this particular approach, that a doctor without touching the patient can hear the patient sound, heartbeat sounds, without getting the stethoscope infected. And go to their website, go check out their website. They have done an article, and I think there's a video also on how they're using this particular thing during the COVID-19 crisis. And this has been really, really helpful for all the doctors during COVID-19 crisis. Other than that, since we are discussing this in a World Youth Heart Federation area, I would like to share one particular video with all of you about medical innovations can also disrupt in towards heart-based problems. And I think there are a lot of issues that are associated with the heart, and we need to have a change of approach in towards that also. So the most and foremost thing is, I think all of you would also agree over here that in heart, or in the body, sometimes in some certain areas a blood clot is developed, right? Now this blood clot basically can go to the brain or go to the heart and maybe create a huge havoc or a chances of a stroke. Now, as I mentioned about Stanford Biodesign, they have come out with a different solution to actually solve this problem. Okay, so just have a look at this video.
My name is Wendy Chan. I'm the Senior Manager for Health Economics and Reimbursement for Boston Scientific Corporation. The Watchman device is the first of its kind technology that was approved by the FDA in terms of being a non-pharmacological treatment option for the reduction of stroke, especially for patients who don't tolerate or do well on long-term blood thinner therapy. The clinical need is it addresses a heart condition called atrial fibrillation. What is atrial fibrillation? Well, atrial fibrillation is caused by an irregular heartbeat. Because you have an irregular heartbeat, sometimes that blood isn't emptied out of the atrium completely, and you have a pocket called the left atrial appendage. Oftentimes, blood tends to pool in that pocket to create a blood clot. And if that blood clot exits your heart and into the brain, it can cause a stroke. So those stroke incidences are very debilitating and can be deadly to patients. The most common treatment pathway for atrial fibrillation is drugs that are called blood thinners. The most common blood thinner is warfarin. It's been around for the past 50 years. A lot of patients don't tolerate warfarin very well because it introduces a high risk of bleeding. There's also negative interactions in terms of dietary restrictions with certain foods and drugs as well. And also, you have to get your blood monitored on a regular basis. And for some patients, that is not the most optimal solution, either because of non-compliance or that they just don't do well on the drug. Essentially, what the Watchman device does, it acts as a barrier in the left atrial appendage to prevent the formation of blood clots, because we know that 90% of the blood clots that form in the heart come from that source. And so the Watchman device was intended specifically for those subset of patients that need to be managed for their stroke therapy, and providing a solution where it's an implant-based solution. Essentially, you're one and done. You don't have to take warfarin therapy after the post-procedure regimen, and it provides a wonderful option for patients that can't tolerate long-term blood thinners. The regulatory pathway for Watchman has been long and very tortuous in terms of getting this device to market for appropriate patients. The FDA, by all means, needs to scrutinize first-of-its-kind devices in terms of meeting the threshold for safety and efficacy, so that is not unusual. And because the Watchman trials, they're very complicated in terms of telling the story and meeting the efficacy endpoints as well as the safety endpoints, we had to go through 3 FDA panels, which was absolutely unprecedented in the history for medical devices. But at each of those panel reviews, there was a positive vote to approve the Watchman device. And by the 3rd panel, we eventually secured approval on March 13th of 2015. The indication for the Watchman device is it's a treatment for stroke risk reduction for patients with non-valvular atrial fibrillation who have a high CHADS or CHADS-FAST score in terms of their indicators for stroke, and they're able to take oral anticoagulation therapy in terms of being managed by warfarin short term, but they have an appropriate rationale to seek a non-pharmacological alternative in weighing the risk and the benefits of oral anticoagulants compared to the device-based therapy. In terms of the indication for Watchman, we felt really good about it because the FDA deliberated based off of a feedback from a large-scale group of physicians in terms of thinking about, is this a viable treatment for stroke risk reduction? And at the end of the day, the FDA deliberated based off of the clinical trials and left that in the hands of the physicians to offer that as a specific treatment option for patients.
Yeah, so I think that was a really amazing experience and a story that had come from how the disability in terms of atrial fibrillation was an issue, and how they actually came together to solve this particular problem through innovation again, and how it actually helps, right? So I think we all being these medical students, and we understand these issues, but probably we tend to become sometimes a bystander when we just see that problem, but we don't really understand. Therefore, we as Mice Labs would wants to start this innovative thinking, right? Start thinking innovatively, where how can we actually solve this problem using different kinds of tools, right? So I'd just like to quickly touch upon what exactly is entrepreneurship. A person who's taking a risk of finance and doing a business. I think we have a lot of entrepreneurs coming in India, and why this particular scope is required, because I think this is something which is going to help to develop our country, right? We all hear about these founders and entrepreneurs in Silicon Valley, the business hub of the world. But we as India also have that potential to be that Silicon Valley. Probably we can be the next. And I think Bangalore is termed as one of the next Indian Silicon Valley, which has that potential. And so not just geographically, but Bangalore being in India, I just took that city. But yes, overall India, we have so many talented young individuals who have a lot of abilities and skills, and entrepreneurship gives you that platform to develop your all-rounder skills, right? You learn to earn, you learn to grow, right? From growing, you learn to earn how to do that. And you also learn how to give solving unique challenges that is there in the country, right? And there is always that particular gap, because a businessman or a consumer industry, how it works is the businessman brings in the product and the consumer buys it. But we need entrepreneurs who can change the shape of that. For entrepreneurs can develop user-centric or customer-centric products, right? Because the customers want to buy what they want, not that what you want to sell, right? So therefore we need to develop things which the customer wants, right? Therefore that comes into the term about how entrepreneurship can solve that problem, and many such opportunities can be created by just entrepreneurship. And of course, we have a lot of information about that. You can visit our website also. The given down is the link. You can take a screenshot if you want. So you can visit our website. We have written an article about how medical students also can take into place, how we can give shape to medical entrepreneurship, and little details about what exactly is medtech entrepreneurship about. Yeah, so there are a lot of government initiatives and government bodies that is coming in India. This is one of them, that is known as the AMTZ, Andhra Pradesh MedTech Zone. So this is the initiative of the government of Andhra Pradesh that has been set up in Vishakhapatnam, where they have set up a huge, about a 300, 400 acre campus where they have a lot of, this is an entire office which is built, not just an office, but an entire space or an entire ecosystem of healthcare innovations to happen to solve, to bring in a lot of Indian made medical devices, right? Because if you understand the statistics of what India imports medical devices, we import more than about 40,000 crore. That's the import value every year. Per annum, India imports 40,000 crore worth rupees medical devices to India. But I think India has a lot of potential, and that is something which we are able to see right now also as the Indian ecosystem during this COVID-19 crisis. Also, we are able to see how many local startups have started developing, and you're able to get a lot of make in India devices. And we have to go local for vocal, right? So we have to go vocal for local. I'm sorry for that. And therefore, the Make in India initiative has taken shape in these kind of terms for medical devices as well. And you all can actually be a part of it. Okay. So how does Mice Labs facilitate medical innovations? We facilitate it in a 4-point agenda. We have this 4-point agenda. We would like to train medicos. We would like to train medical students to learn the various tools and technologies that is available. And by collaborating with a different team of people like engineering students, management students, design students, you actually develop a project. You develop different kinds. You identify a lot of unmet needs because you guys understand the problems very well. You can bring in a lot of problems, or we can share some ideas with you, which you can also develop it in a team, right? And the third thing is driving medical innovation. So we help you, guide you, nurture you, and help you build that using your creativity and helping you build that innovative mindset, right? The fourth thing is also we help you to, after post your development of your device or your development of your idea, we help you to take it ahead to the next level, to get it to the entrepreneurship stage, or to help you to get it commercialized. And all these things we have started doing as a Mice Labs initiative. And this is how we have already done some pilot projects. These are the students of JJ Hospital who have done a few pilot projects. So this is a bed wetting alarm. Many times the patient is bedridden, has to undergo, has to pass the nature's call or has to attend the nature's call in the bed itself, pass the fecus and the urine inside. So many times if it happens in the middle of the night, then the patient caregiver or the nurse, if the patient is in the hospital, aren't really aware of it. And so therefore a bed wetting alarm with the slightest, moisture detection or anything, you can actually program it to detect and give it a beep to your device, which can actually help you and let you know that the patient has wetted the bed. Apart from that, this is something which we felt that identified as a problem, that many cerebral palsy patients are there who feel that, who aren't able to communicate with their caregivers very well because of their disorder. And if they want to automate the room, if they were to automate the room, how would they do? So here's another project which we did, that how can the cerebral palsy patient who aren't able to communicate with their caregivers can actually do this, just with a small bend of a finger, they can actually control the lights and fans of the rooms, and the electronic controls, and whatever controls you give it to them and program it accordingly. Alarms also have changed its ways, not just bells, but also gesture-based alarms, because we have seen mobile phones also with gesture. Without touching the mobile phone screen, you can actually, with a slight gesture, you can do it. Same way, gesture-based alarms have also come for patients. Moving beds, automatic patient moving beds have also started coming into a place of technology. Yeah, this is something which also has been very, very required towards the time, this current time, when we want to take temperatures of patients, but we can't touch them because of the spread of infection, risk of infection. Therefore, contactless temperature sensor, and using small infrared technology, you can place it at a distance about 5 centimeters to the patient, and you get the temperature reading without touching the patient body. And yes, this is something which probably you all will agree and you all would like to learn and know and understand, that cardiopulmonary resuscitation, the CPR, is a must technique for all medical students and even for everybody. In fact, this is something but nothing but a first aid skill, right? As good as a first aid skill. In US and other countries, this is taught as a part of the curriculum in their schools, right? In schools, we have learned about first aid kit, but we haven't been taught about CPR, and not just theoretically, but not even practically. Therefore, this has become a real requirement that medical students have to upgrade their clinical skills. But yes, you can do it on a mannequin. But again, the problem comes is you do it on a mannequin, that how do you understand, are you doing it correct or not? A mannequin is not going to stand up and say, hey, I'm alive, right? It's a non-living object. And you can't try and test it on a real-time patient. When you're doing it on a CPR, you need to be really well thorough and practiced with it, because CPR works only if you do it with the right rules and regulations, right? So what we have done is we have opened up this entire mannequin. We thought, okay, let's fit some electronic circuits inside, which can actually give you the reading and which can actually tell you that whether your heartbeat, or whether the mannequin, the compression which you're giving, your compressions are full or partial, or are you giving the compression the right ratio, the rate which it has to go, 100 to 120. That's the standard compression ratio which you need to maintain while giving CPR. And you according to the new guidelines, you need not give the mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, but just resuscitation on the you can use an ambu bag perhaps if you have it during your surroundings. But yeah, this app gives you a complete performance record, and you can actually test yourselves and learn this particular skill on the mannequin. And this is how CPR as one of the skills have been changed. Apart from that, we have a lot of future plans. So these are all the stories which we have. And so, we have a lot of future plans. We want to collaborate with many medical design and medical institutes, design institutes, engineering. We want to develop a lot of courses. We have been doing design thinking, innovation processes. We would like to mentor students, because if you would like to take it ahead, you as students would want to do something. We are more than happy to help you. We can collaborate. We are very happy to have this collaboration with WIHF, and we can help you out with different ways. We can help you to get grants and funding from ICMR, BIRAC. These are big bodies which can offer funds and grants for people who want to apply for to get their developmental listing. And these are some small activities which we also do. Hackathon is also a 1-day, 2-day event which we do, with different teams coming together and solving a problem in a set of few hours. And we have a lot of long-term goals. We would like to incubate startups. We would like to start MICE labs in different medical colleges, right? Because we as one team start in JJ Hospital, how much can we do? To reach out to more and much larger audience to different places, we would like to start MICE labs in different medical colleges. And we would like to help you to also get these biodesign scholarships, because biodesign has these programs and schemes. And yes, initially I also told that we want to reinvent the medical education system. So same way, we are trying to develop a curriculum that can be a part of your medical innovation, which can be a part of your syllabus when you're studying during your undergraduation and graduation days. In the end, I would just like to conclude that there is a lot of things which we can do, and the only way to discover the limits of possible is to go beyond them into the impossible. So we want to discover much more opportunities and ways which we can do it. And you can connect us through these channels. We are available on all social media networks: YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. Here's our website, www.micelabs.in. My email ID, contact number has been given. Anybody wants to reach out to us, would like to do some more courses or webinars, we are all ready and we can help you out with. And we're hoping to see a lot of innovations coming in by medical students and young enthusiastic students. this I'm sorry I went little over time, but I hope this was being able to help you with your information. Thank you so much. So are there any questions?
Awesome, Krishna. So like we will move on to the questions. Anyone who wants to ask any question regarding this innovation or the session, they can unmute themselves and go ahead.
Yes, questions. Either you understood everything or you didn't understand a single thing. So.
And those who are shy can also type their questions.
Yeah.
Hi there.
Yes, Amanpreet.
So I wanted to ask, like the video that you had shared with us regarding that Stanford medicine.
Yeah.
So the kind of device and instrument that they had made, was it similar to the pacemaker that we have for heart patients?
Pacemaker is to keep the heart active, right? So
No,
it
not
basically,
medically, but like in a context. Is it, installed inside the body, or what is it about like?
yeah, it is it is installed inside the heart, like it's inside. I don't know the exact area what you call it in the technical terms, but that's something which is an invasive device that goes into handle the blood clots that come in, right? And patients with those kind of symptoms, I think you can quickly do a blood test or things like that. There are ways to diagnose whether the patient has a blood clot, and so who is at the risk needs to have that device implanted inside, so that it keeps the blood clots at bay and stops it, and it doesn't allow those blood clots to go to the brain. So it's an invasive device. Yes, it has to be implanted inside.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? Come on, guys, ask questions.
Sorry to pitch in. So could you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so I just received few questions earlier, which would like to pose it to you.
Sure.
So the one question was something like that. What would you advise to a first year medical student who has just entered the medical school and is interested in the field of biodesign? How do you advise him to actually approach the professionals who are already working, and how he or she could actually get involved in the entire process?
Okay, that's a nice question, and probably many of the first year students might be reflecting on the same thing, that how can they get an active participation. I would say when things are like, when you're very young, at a very young stage, that means even in the medicine, that 4-year width, that 4-year period you have, the time gap you have, the first 2 years are the most crucial years when you can actually develop something and change something, because not because that 3rd year 4th year people start getting interested into studies, and they actually need to pass their exams and do a lot of work during that years, that they understand ki haan, abhi pani sar ke upar aa raha hai, the 3rd year and 4th year, and many times they realize that okay, we have to clear our examinations and we need to do a lot of things. But I think the most peaceful time when students actually have is the 1st and 2nd years, right? I think in JJ Hospital they call the 2nd year is like, they call it as the honeymoon period. So yeah, the question is very good, that how can so I would say the most apt people for innovation is when you are at your 1st and 2nd year itself, right? So that is the first thing, answering the first part of the question, that when is it a good time for innovation. For medical students perspective, I'm talking 1st to 4th years. In between that, the first few years are very, very good, but that doesn't mean that the 3rd year and 4th year students can't do anything. We have students from the final year also working on different projects. So it is not like that only this particular team can work. Other part of the question is, how can they participate and what kind of programs, how can they connect with professionals? So So yeah, one thing is Stanford Biodesign is definitely one body. It has partnered with AIIMS Delhi and has offered a biodesign program, a fellowship program for Indian students as well, right? So this fellowship program is a full-time program. Probably you can do it before your graduation or after your graduation. That is one thing, because that's a 1-year fellowship program, which is maybe properly after your internship, you can do this particular fellowship program. You can apply for that. And Stanford Biodesign is not just the one body. There are many such organizations which are coming. Recently, I talked about AMTZ in our this thing, right? In the presentation, I spoke about AMTZ. So AMTZ is also starting with a biodesign fellowship program. It is not yet out, but they are still, the process is on, and they will be very soon launching, a fellowship program. Because again, what happens is the whole country, in the whole country, Stanford Biodesign is not the only one body. Many other fellowship programs are coming. These are programs which people need to do, dedicatedly, because they need to give full time to that. That is a fellowship program. Apart from that, many, IITs, NITs, all these have incubation cells and innovation cells, like how we are set up at JJ Hospital as a MICE lab. Same way, we also keep doing a lot of these kind of programs, not in a fellowship program, but internship programs. We also do some digital boot camps, which we are developing and starting to involve people to come together at a short period of time, right? So maybe 2 days or a weekend. We have very recently, I think just today, I think we have announced the Ideathon program. So Ideathon is nothing like you've attended Spellathon and Marathon, all these things, but Ideathon is nothing but, you have to register yourself for this particular program. You have to submit your ideas, and with a team together, you'll actually be making some concept sketches and conceptualization. A problem statement with a theme is being given, and under that theme you have to develop a lot of solutions. What kind of problems are there? With a lot of solutions, develop it in a presentation format and submit it to us on a digital scale, and then we can we'll be selecting and announcing the winners of that. So it's a competition which we are doing the end of September, the last week of September, this competition will be running. At the end, you will have to come and do a presentation and pitch your idea. What is your idea? What makes you convenient, and think about that. So that is again, so we do a lot of these kind of events. So it might be, we also do a 4-week internship program when, medical students, engineering students sitting at their homes also can come together for developing concepts and solutions, conceptualization as well, bringing out solutions. Other than that, I think a lot of hackathons we keep doing. We haven't started anything on the digital level for a hackathon, but very soon we will be planning to do that. And not just that, us, but many bodies are there in the ecosystem which are doing that. Okay. So yes, any other questions?
Yes, sir. I just have another question. So
Yeah.
Ashmita, we'll just take this question. After that, you could take it over. Right.
Yeah.
So this is a question from a student who is from engineering background, not from medical background. So he asks that as an engineer, we don't know much about the issues which medical fraternity faces regularly. Does biodesign has a list of problem statements and list of equipments which are important? If yes, can you share that?
Okay, so list of equipment imported, I think that is the best thing. You can contact them only. You can visit their website, Stanford. You can just type it on Google. You can go and visit their website and get in touch with them. Yeah, but list of problems. See, there are 2 ways. One thing is that doctors can walk in and share their ideas. That is one thing. Because they feel some lack and they come and share their ideas. That is one thing which can be done. Secondly, in this, if you see the fellowship structure, probably in our future courses or webinars, I'll be sharing the entire process, how the entire process of innovation, beginning with ideation stage, beginning with identifying the problem, to ending with, development and deploying it into the market. All these stages, we do a course on that. So I would suggest, you can also get into that details. We can teach you about how to identify a problem. So Stanford Biodesign also has this particular phase where they have to go out to the probably a team is sent, and they you need to go and sit inside the OPD and just sit there as an observer and try to identify what kind of a problem is there. Go and sit with a doctor in his room and see how he's treating with patients, he or she is treating patients. And that is the way you actually start accumulating problems. So there's a ground team that goes and does this research also. So both the ways are possible as Stanford Biodesign.
Okay, then awesome. So like continuing with the last question. So
Yeah.
problem identification is one of the most important part in the whole process. So that is where the key is. Once you find a problem, the other things become easy,
Correct.
So that is the key. So no one just sends out the problem. We do not have any listing of problem, because that is what you have to find to make a mark in this sector. So that this was an awesome session, sir. We have learned a great deal about innovation and all the paths and processes and how to begin with it and go about it. And it was also so awesome audience sharing their questions and visions and captions. And we would love to do this more often. And everyone, there is a form which is pushed in the chat box. They are please requested to fill the form. So that has details which will require us to issue your certificates. So everyone is requested to please go and fill the form. And it was very lovely having all of you on board for the session today. And without it's already 15 minutes past the time. So I guess we should take leave. Thank you so much, sir, for the
Thank you.
session.
It's my pleasure, and hoping to see all of you again in the future for more such interesting and amazing topics on design thinking and innovation topics.
Thank you.
Thank you so much all. Thank you all.